From Andy Muschietti praising Ezra's attempts to improve their mental health, to the director talking about how the film got a very positive reception, here's everything that Andy revealed about Miller's Transgressions. For starters, Muschietti addressed Ezra's chaotic behavior. The filmmaker talked about just what it was like to work with Miller at The Flash's first public screening. For those of y'all that may not be aware, while Ezra may be portraying a superhero on screen, their actions in real life resemble those of a full-blown villain. I'm talking about stuff like break-ins, assaults, and disorderly conduct. They're definitely taking a thing or two from the Joker's notebook. Miller blamed a lot of their actions on complex mental health issues. They stated that they're sorry for anyone they might have alarmed with their past behavior, and they're working to get the help they need. As it turns out, Miller stuck to their word and seems to be doing better now. At least Andy thinks so. The director said that Miller has improved and that the rest of the cast and crew have their backs. They're all hoping that Ezra continues to get better. Andy said that Miller's currently in the process of recovery and is taking the steps needed for improvement. Andy has personally been in contact with the star and has been impressed with Miller's commitment to the whole thing. It's clear that they want to leave their past actions behind and really come back in a new and improved way. Though part of this may have been because of the ultimatum they were given by Warner Brothers. Back when Miller was still pretty much in hot water, Warner Brothers quickly realized that the star was making the Flash film entirely unmarketable. So they give the star three options. Warner Brothers said that if Miller gets the help they need and apologizes, then the studio might consider releasing the film and even give Ezra the chance to appear as the Flash in future projects. And in the end, that's what ended up happening, from the looks of it. But there were other options presented too. Like the studio said that if Miller doesn't apologize, then they'd still release the film with limited press, but Ezra would be fired. And they would consider a new actor for the Flash in the future. And that's not all. There was also the possibility of Miller's actions getting even worse, at which point they'd just decide to waste the film's entire budget and never release it. Because I mean, who'd want to go see a film where a known assaulter was being portrayed as a superhero? Fans think it's pretty likely that the fear of this possibility becoming real is what forced Miller to take his mental health issues seriously, which is why they came clean about everything they did and are now trying to get better. Though it's still not clear if they'll return as the Flash, the offer made to Ezra by Warner Brothers was back before details about James Gunn taking over the DC universe were confirmed. It's possible that they were still planning on continuing with the previous DCEU with more The Flash films later down the line. Because of this, even though Miller has come clean and is now doing better, the possibility of them reprising the role of the superhero seems pretty unclear. James Gunn has shown that he's pretty bold when it comes to making changes. I mean, the guy didn't even bring back Henry Cavill, even though everyone loved his portrayal of Superman and wanted him to return in the new DCU. Gunn instead said that Henry wasn't right for the Superman story he was going to tell. It's possible that Miller may not be hired for this very reason. Or it's possible that James doesn't want to work with them. I mean, even though Miller is getting better, I doubt James would want to risk hiring someone that can just disappear for months on end, and then appear in some headline causing disruption and fights halfway across the globe. It's just not the kind of risk he can afford to take as a filmmaker when he's got the task of rebuilding the entire DC universe from scratch. But who knows? He may change his mind, especially because Barbara Muschietti also seems pretty impressed with Miller's recovery. She's Andy's sister and the producing partner for the film. Alongside the filmmaker, she also gave her 2 cents about Miller. Barbara stated that Ezra's commitment to the role was something that she's never seen from an actor. The star brought a level of discipline and willingness, both physical and mental, which really ended up impressing her. The interesting bit about The Flash is that it features 2 versions of the character. There's the Barry Allen that fans know and love from the main DCEU, but there's also a different variant of the character that's going to be introduced in this film. And guess what? Miller portrays both of them. This means that the actor is doing twice as much work and is involved in pretty much every scene in the movie. No wonder everyone's so impressed with their commitment to the role. Andy even went as far as to say that working with them may just be one of the best experiences he's had with an actor ever. Not just Miller's performance, but the contributions they made to the role, adding their own flair and style to the whole thing, really helped to make this film a much more enjoyable experience for everyone involved. Andy even gave an example of Miller's great behavior on set. During one scene, they were on the 24th take, and Andy felt like it was good enough and they could wrap up. But Miller wasn't convinced, and they asked the director if they could do just one more take to get it just right. That's not something you see often from a star, especially one that was so recently dealing with a lot of mental stress. So you really got to give Miller credit for putting in the work and improving a lot in a short time span. But that's not the end of the praise that the director had for Ezra, because the filmmaker also touched up on Miller's ability to carry such a massive film. It's no secret that these massive superhero blockbuster films have hundreds of millions of dollars invested in them, and it's not an easy task to lead a movie like that. People often look at the lead star to bring in the profits, and that's easier said than done. Just look at Dwayne Johnson, who, despite being a household name, could barely get Black Adam to a break-even point. So Miller being able to lead the film is a huge deal. Andy mentioned that much of this comes from their incredible emotions, which the star brings to the set every single day. The director was very happy with how Miller had portrayed Barry in the previous DC films. While he always thought the character was funny, it was only after he'd worked with Ezra that the filmmaker realized that a lot of that humor came from the actor themselves. Andy found Miller to be an incredible comedian, which is why they really wanted to focus on that aspect of him in the film. But of course, you can't just make the entire film be about cracking jokes, since that can get tiring. And so, they divided the role of the Flash into two parts, with Barry Allen from the old DCEU being the more anxious and full of trauma. And this new Barry is totally carefree and a bit of a goofball. The director feels that Miller has done justice to both these roles, which is pretty exciting to hear. And it's not just Andy who thinks the film is great, because the initial reaction to the movie has been quite positive. At CinemaCon, the film was seen by audiences for the first time. The action sequence got a lot of people gasping, and Michael Keaton's appearance as Batman also got a whole lot of applause from fans.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
The film has a lot of charm and really plays up the nostalgia factor, with the costume, Batmobile, and even the musical cues being a trip down memory lane. That said, Muschietti noted that the scenes of the two Flashes arguing with one another didn't really get the laughing reactions he was hoping for. Maybe the fans didn't find it as funny as he did.
Good? Oh, this is mad trippy. Dude, this is catastrophic.
But the one thing that did get many people excited was the ending. From what I've heard, it's almost impossible to say anything about it without outright spoiling the whole thing. But let's just say CinemaCon was filled with sounds of hooting and hollering when it happened. So I imagine it's going to be really amazing. The ending is set to reset the DC universe and officially begin the age of James Gunn's new DCU. I hope it's able to live up to expectations. Andy mentioned that as he was walking out, he saw people who were in their 70s and very well aware of their comic book lore talking it out with the youngsters. Sounds like the film is going to be one heck of a good time. Well, there you have it. From the director talking about how the film got a very positive reaction because of the star's efforts, to Andy Muschietti praising Ezra's attempts to improve their mental health, that was everything that Andy revealed about Miller's Transgressions.